Hello and welcome. Today, we're going to dive into a really powerful story. It's a lesson that explores just how vast divine mercy can be, and it asks a pretty sharp question about our own ability to be kind. It's a story about a prophet, a non-believer, and a single meal that, well, it changes everything. So this one idea is really the foundation for the whole story. Just try to wrap your head around a provider so generous that their gifts, food, air, life itself, aren't tied to loyalty or even being thanked. Provision just flows to absolutely everyone. Your friends, your enemies, believers, and non-believers. This is the stage, and the story that follows is going to test the very limits of human compassion against this incredible, unconditional standard. And our story kicks off with one of the most revered figures in history, Prophet Abraham. Now, he's known for his rock-solid faith, but also, and this is super important for our story, for his legendary hospitality. And this wasn't just, a nice habit. It was a core principle for him. The source material really makes it clear that if no guest showed up, Abraham would actually go out and find someone to share his table with. It was this daily practice of seeking connection and being generous. So picture this. On this one particular day, the table's set, but the guest's chair is empty. So Abraham goes out and he finds this scene, an elderly man all by himself, just soaking a piece of dry bread in water so he could eat it. It's a really simple, almost bleak picture of solitude. Abraham doesn't even hesitate. He sees someone who could use some company and a hot meal, and he immediately extends the invitation. We're told the man was a little hesitant at first, happy with what he had, but Abraham insisted. He was just so eager to share his blessings. So the man agrees and follows him home. And this, right here, is where a simple act of charity turns into a profound spiritual test. The meal is on the table, but it comes with an unspoken expectation, a condition that wasn't part of the original deal. You can feel the tension in the air, right? For Abraham, saying God's name before eating is just fundamental. It's a basic act of gratitude. He says it, but his guest stays silent. That expected ritual is broken, and Abraham notices right away. And here we have this clash of principles. Abram asks the man to say God's name, but the old man's refusal, it isn't just him being difficult, it's a statement. He essentially says, I haven't said his name in 60 years. I'm not about to start now just for a piece of your bread. There's a kind of raw honesty in his disbelief, isn't there? So, faced with this defiance, Abraham makes a judgment call. He decides his hospitality depends on this one small act of piety. And when the man refuses, the invitation is just revoked. The guest is turned away, sent right back out into the world. Now, Abraham, he acted based on his own principles, his own idea of what was right. But his very human judgment was about to get intercepted by a much, much higher perspective. Right as the old man is leaving, a revelation comes to Abraham, and it's a moment that is going to completely reframe everything that just happened at that dinner table. And this is the heart of the entire lesson. God's message is a gentle but incredibly powerful rebuke. Just think about that contrast. For 60 years, that's over 20,000 days, God provided for this man without any conditions, even while the man denied him. And Abraham, God's beloved prophet, couldn't put up with him for a single meal. Just let that number sink in. 60 years of sunshine, of air to breathe, of food to eat. 60 years of life, given freely, with zero requirement for thanks. It really puts Abraham's momentary impatience into a very stark and very humbling perspective. So Abraham is just floored, totally humbled. And he doesn't just sit there feeling bad. He acts. He runs after the old man, finds him, and he doesn't just offer him food again. He offers a sincere apology. He explains what just happened, that God himself had stepped in on the old man's behalf. And here's the amazing twist. The old man is completely stunned. I mean, what kind of God defends a non-believer against his own chosen prophet? It wasn't Abraham's lecture that changed his mind. It was the sheer, breathtaking mercy of God. A mercy so big it protected him, even in his disbelief. And that act of divine compassion is what finally brought him to faith. So, what's the big takeaway here? This isn't just a cool story. It's a lesson in what the source calls the ethics of God, like a blueprint for a higher, more radical kind of compassion. The story basically teaches us that real mercy has no if attached to it. It's not a transaction. It shows us that the best guidance isn't a lecture. It's just a selfless act of kindness. We're reminded to pray for the well-being of all people, not just the ones in our group. And that true strength isn't found in being judgmental, but in the patience we show to people who just see the world differently. At the end of the day, if we want to guide people or just make a positive difference, getting angry and condemning them are just not the right tools. Abraham's story shows us that it was the example of relentless, unconditional mercy that opened a heart that had been closed for 60 years. That's the method we're supposed to follow. And that leaves us with one final tough question to ask ourselves. In our own lives, what are our conditions for compassion? What little acknowledgments or agreements do we demand from people before we're willing to share our table, so to speak? This story challenges us to tear down those conditions and to just provide. Thanks for joining me on this one.